Right after the family reunion, I checked my bank account, and it was nearly empty. My brother-in-law let out a snort and said, "We needed it more than you." My hands were shaking as I reached into my bag and told him, "Well then, you won't mind what's coming next." They were still chuckling when a loud bang rattled the house. The front door slammed open, and Eric leaned back against the fridge with a beer, that same smug little grin plastered on his face. "You're seriously upset about this? Relax. We needed it more than you." I just stared, my thumb hovering over the refresh button on my banking app. I'd already tapped it a few times, but the number hadn't changed. $5.99. That had to be wrong. Just yesterday, I had over 17 grand in there. $17,000. "You what?" I heard myself say, voice catching. Lindsay, my sister, laughed from the couch like it was all a joke. She had her legs tucked underneath her, sipping wine like we were in the middle of a casual game night. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," she said, waving it off. "It's not like we stole it. We're family. You emptied my account." Eric just shrugged. "It's not stealing if we're gonna pay it back eventually." I tried to speak, but no words came. I glanced at Mom, who was knitting across the room. She didn't even bother to look up. "Mom," I said, louder this time. "Did you know about this?" She sighed like I just overreacted about something minor. "Honey, you always get so emotional. You've got a good job, no house payments, no kids, you live by yourself. You're fine. And that makes it okay to take my money?" I asked. Dad muttered without even lifting his eyes from his phone, "Watch your tone, Jake." I turned back to Lindsay. "How did you even get into my account?" "You left your info saved on the family computer," she said, not even trying to act sorry. "Maybe next time, don't log in and walk off. Honestly, it's kind of your fault." I caught myself before I said something I'd regret. My hands were balled into fists, and I could feel my breath getting shorter. "You're blowing this way out of proportion," Eric said. "It's not like we wasted it. We used it to cover rent, buy food, you know, basic stuff. We were just trying to get by. You didn't even ask." Lindsay snapped back. "We didn't think we had to. You've been paying for things for years. What's the difference if it comes through you or from you?" I slowly reached for my bag. No one tried to stop me. No apologies. No shock. Just silence. "You're heading out already?" Mom asked. "Yeah," I said, zipping up my coat. "But don't worry. I'll be in touch." "Don't be like that," Lindsay said with an eye roll. "We needed it more than you." "That's just the truth." My hand touched the doorknob. I paused. "Then you won't mind what's coming next." They laughed again. But outside, something had already shifted. "You've always helped. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Hey, you all right?" It was my cousin Frank, catching up with me as I stomped to my car, fist clenched and jaw tight. "No," I muttered, yanking the door open. "I heard what Lindsay said," he added, speaking softly. "That wasn't okay." I didn't respond. If I did, I'd probably lose it. Thing is, this wasn't the first time. I'd always been the dependable one, the one with steady work, the one who never needed a hand. And somehow, that meant I became the family ATM. It started with little things. Like the time Lindsay forgot to pay her phone bill, I stepped in. Then Eric got laid off and asked for a little help to get through the month. Then came the birthday gift for their daughter. I never actually offered to pay for it, but they just assumed I would. Every time, they acted like I owed it to them. "You're lucky, Jake," Mom used to say with that sweet tone that always had a sharp edge. "Your sister's got real struggles. God gave you a smoother path so you could lend a hand. That's what family's about." Dad chimed in more than once, too. "You wouldn't be here if it weren't for us." Translation? "We brought you into the world. Now hand over your paycheck." I never asked for help. Not even when I was unemployed for 7 months and got by eating rice and eggs. Not when I skipped vacations for 2 years straight just to rebuild my savings. And not when I helped clear Lindsay and Eric's credit card debt 2 years ago. They never paid me back. Didn't even bother with a thank you. "Still coming to the reunion?" Lindsay asked last week. "Yeah," I told her. "Want me to bring anything?" Her response was quick. "Just bring yourself. And your card." I figured it was a joke. Now I know better. For days after everything went down, Lindsay started calling. I let it ring. Then she called again. And again. A little while later, Eric shot me a text. "Just call her, man. She's losing it." I finally gave in and answered on the 6th ring. "Jake." Lindsay's voice came through low and shaky. "We've got a situation." "Oh, really? Do we now?" I said, flat. "Come on, don't be like that," she said quickly. "Something happened." I didn't say a word, just waited. The power company showed up today, she went on. We're way behind. Like, way behind. And they said they'll cut it off if we don't pay by Monday. So? I asked. She hesitated. So, we need your help. I let out a short, dry laugh. You cleaned out my savings, and now you want more? It wasn't just for us, she snapped. Some of that money helped Mom and Dad too. Dad's car died last month, remember? No one told me. Because you always say no if it's not some kind of emergency. Lindsay, I said, keeping my voice flat. This isn't just wrong, it's illegal. You're being so over the top. It's family. You didn't even ask. We figured you wouldn't care. You've always stepped in. That's just what you do, right? And there it was. That phrase. That's what you do. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying every little moment from the last 6 years. All the small favors. The quiet transfers. The way Mom would always say, you're the strong one. The way Lindsay rolled her eyes if I hesitated for even a second. They didn't see me as a person. Not a brother. Not a son. Just a source of money. 3 days passed before Mom called. We need to talk, she said. She didn't ask how I'd been. Nothing about my job. Not even a word about the missing money. We're having a family dinner. Just us. Come by tonight. My stomach turned. What's this really about? Jake, she said gently, you've caused a lot of tension lately. I caused tension? Still, I showed up. Part of me wanted answers. The rest just wanted to see if they'd even bother pretending to feel bad. They didn't. When I got there, Lindsay was already waiting, arms folded tight. Eric looked bored, slouched in his chair. Mom was busy in the kitchen, and Dad casually flipped through the mail like it was just another quiet evening. So, Lindsay said the moment I sat down, are we going to act like grown-ups or not? That depends, I said. You ready to admit to stealing? She scoffed. Seriously? You're being ridiculous. It wasn't stealing, it was family money. You always help. We needed it. Eric nodded along. You've got plenty. What's the big deal? I never said you could take it. You didn't say no, either. Because I didn't know. I shot back. Details, Lindsay mumbled. I turned to Mom. And you're just okay with all this? She didn't meet my eyes. We all agreed. You've always been the one who could handle it. No one thought to ask me, I said. We trusted you, Dad cut in. Trusted you to do the right thing. I stood up. And the right thing is what? Letting you all take from me while smiling like nothing's wrong. Stop calling it stealing, Lindsay shouted. It was for the family. Then I hope the family's ready for the consequences. Eric narrowed his eyes. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't respond. Not yet. They didn't get to play the victims now. That night, when I stepped into the house, everyone was already there. Mom was setting the table, clinking plates a little louder than usual. Dad was on the couch, flipping through TV channels like it was a normal Friday evening. Lindsay stood by the window, arms crossed, jaws set. Eric lounged at the table like he was just waiting for the game to start, not to answer for emptying someone's entire life savings. Well, look who finally showed, Lindsay said, voice dripping with sarcasm. I dropped my bag near the door without saying a word. Let's just get this over with, I muttered. Good, Eric grinned. Maybe now we can stop acting like you were robbed. I was robbed, I said, sitting down. Right on cue, Mom cleared her throat. Jake, we understand you're upset. But you have to see it from our side. We were struggling. We didn't have many options. Lindsay and Eric were drowning, Dad added. And you've always been steady. We knew we could rely on you. You didn't ask, I said, my voice cold. You just took. That's not what family does. That's theft. Lindsay rolled her eyes again. You're being so dramatic. It's not like we blew it on junk. We used it on real things. I pulled a paper from my bag, a spreadsheet I had printed, and dropped it on the table with a thud. $3.50 on makeup. $800 on takeout. $1,800 to pay off your car loan. Eric clearly didn't expect I'd dig into it. Eric leaned forward, face hardening. You went through our accounts? Oh, I did more than that. I opened my laptop. The screen lit up, clean and color-coded. Every charge, every transfer, all of it traceable. I documented everything. Then I filed a fraud report. You didn't, Lindsay whispered, eyes wide. I did. You called the cops? She shrieked. I turned to Mom. Still think this is just a family issue? This is crazy, Dad snapped. You'd really send your own sister to jail? You did that yourself. Then, 3 sharp, heavy knocks shook the front door. Lindsay went pale. Eric stood up too fast. Mom gasped and stumbled backward. Dad froze in place. Open up, a voice shouted. Financial Crimes Unit. Knock, knock, knock. Eric turned to me, voice quiet, almost pleading. Jake, tell me this isn't real. I opened the door. 3 agents stepped inside, jackets marked with bold letters. One had a clipboard, another held a tablet, and the third scanned the room with sharp eyes. You Jake Smith? Yes. Thank you for cooperating, the lead one said. We'll take it from here. Mom covered her mouth. Lindsay dropped into a chair like her legs had just given up. Eric didn't move, he just stared, stunned. One of the agents turned to them. You're listed as involved parties in an ongoing investigation into financial fraud and identity theft. Identity theft? Mom cried. But he's our son. The agent didn't blink. Family ties don't make illegal actions legal, ma'am. We didn't steal anything. Lindsay burst out. We had a right. He always helped us. Always. Feeling entitled to someone else's money doesn't make it yours, another agent said calmly. Please remain seated. And I just stood there, watching. For the first time in my life, none of them talked over me. No mocking. No laughter. Mom looked at me, her voice trembling, tears already spilling. Jake, please. We never meant to hurt you. We were desperate. You've always been the strong one. The only one we could depend on. I met her eyes. Cold and steady. You don't get to cry now. She covered her mouth and sobbed. Lindsay opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Eric looked like he wanted to run, but he sat still under the agent's stare. You want to talk about family? I said, stepping closer. Family is trust. Respect. Asking, not taking. Not using. Not draining someone dry and laughing about it. No one answered. I grabbed my bag from the floor and turned to the lead agent. I'll be outside. And this time, no one tried to stop me. You're free now, Jake, one of them said as I stepped out. Don't go back. I left the house in silence. No one followed. No one called my name. For once, there were no guilt trips. No screaming. No Lindsay yelling, how could you down the driveway? Just the cold night air and the crunch of tires behind me as the investigators led them out, one by one. I didn't stay to watch. That night, I just drove. No real destination. Past empty coffee shops, quiet gas stations, my phone buzzing nonstop in the seat next to me. I didn't pick up. I didn't want to hear apologies wrapped in excuses. By midnight, I found myself parked outside the only place that had ever felt safe, my grandmother's old house. She'd passed a few years back, but I still had the key. She used to say, if they ever turn on you, Jake, come here. The door will always open for you. And that night, it did. I slept 10 hours straight. No texts. No guilt. No pressure crushing my chest like it always did when I was near them. When I woke up, I made a cup of coffee in one of her chipped mugs and stood at the window, watching the sunrise creep over the garden fence she used to tend. For the first time in years, I could breathe. But the quiet didn't last. That afternoon, the first email came. From Dad. This has gone too far. You've embarrassed the entire family. What happened to loyalty? I didn't reply. Then Lindsay texted. Hope you're happy. My accounts are frozen. Eric's under investigation at work. You ruined our lives over a few payments. A few? Try tens of thousands. Try 6 years of slow bleeding. Then came Mom. A voicemail. Her voice cracked and tired. You didn't have to do this, Jake. Not like this. We could have handled this as a family, Mom said in her voicemail. Jake, sweetheart, please, they're talking about charges. They said we might lose the house. We might lose the house. I let those words echo in my head. And for once, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vengeful. I just didn't care. Because I had already lost a home, years ago, when they decided I was worth more as a bank account than as a son. 3 days passed. Then I got a message from someone unexpected, Eric's brother. We barely knew each other. Might have spoken few words over a decade of birthdays. But his text was clear. Just so you know, Lindsay's saying you knew about the transfers. That you approved them. There's a lawyer involved. Watch your back. I almost laughed. Even now, with everything falling apart, she was still trying to twist it all around. That night, I called my lawyer. Send everything, I said. We're not just pressing charges. I want a restraining order too. Not every message was nasty, though. A week later, I got an email from Jullie, Eric's sister. I know we haven't spoken in years, she wrote. But you were right. About everything. About how they treat you. About how toxic it's all gotten. I used to think you were cold. Now I think you were brave. I stared at that message for a while. Brave. Nobody in my family had ever called me that before. One morning, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. Jake. The voice was hoarse. Small. It's Lindsay. I said nothing. She kept talking. Look, I know I messed up, okay? I went too far. I didn't think it would get this bad. Eric's suspended. Mom's crying nonstop. Dad won't speak to me. She paused. And you? You always had the power to ruin everything. Another pause. And you finally did. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I answered, flat. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped letting you walk over me. She didn't speak. Then came the plea. Can you stop it now? Please? Just drop the charges. I'll do anything. Just make it stop. I almost felt something. Almost. But then I remembered what she said the night of the reunion. We needed it more than you. I smiled bitterly. No, I said. You made this mess. You live in it. And I hung up. That night, I made dinner for myself. Played my favorite old album from college. Sat on the porch with a mug of coffee and watched the world go by. And for the first time since I was a teenager, nobody asked me for money. Nobody guilt-tripped me. Nobody acted like I was only worth something if I was giving something. I wasn't their wallet anymore. I was just me. And that was enough. I'm not your bank. I'm not your backup plan. I'm done. It's strange how quiet peace is. No one tells you that. You think peace will sound like music, or celebration, or fireworks. But for me, peace sounded like nothing. No one asking for money. No one calling me selfish. No long text starting with, since you're the only one doing well. Just silence. Beautiful, uninterrupted silence. It's been 3 months since that night, since I blew everything up. 4 months since the agents walked into that house and reality finally hit them in the face. They say you can't choose your family. Maybe that's true. But you can choose how much of yourself you're willing to lose trying to keep them happy. And I was done losing. The fallout came quick. Lindsay and Eric tried damage control. A lawyer emailed mine, offering to settle things quietly. No apology. No real ownership. Just damage control. I told my lawyer, let it burn. A week later, Mom sent a letter. 8 pages. Her handwriting's still neat, though shaky in places. She wrote about how it all got out of hand. How they never meant to hurt me. How she hoped I could see the bigger picture. We just assumed you'd always be there, she wrote. That's what good sons do. That line stuck with me. Because it said everything. Not we were wrong. Not you didn't deserve that. Just you were supposed to stay quiet and keep giving. I didn't call. I didn't write back. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. I moved. New apartment. New state. No more surprise visits. No more accidental run-ins at grocery stores. I even changed my number. My boss noticed how much more focused I was and offered me a promotion. I took the promotion. It's amazing how much better you do at work when you're not secretly covering your sister's car payments or your mom's overdue electric bill. I sleep better now. I eat better. I breathe easier. Because I'm no longer carrying people who never said thank you, who just expected it. Then one morning, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a check for $2,100. And a note. I left him. You were right. I was scared. But watching what you did gave me the courage to walk away too. This is for everything you paid for Alice, the tablet, the rent, the clothes. I know Eric never thanked you, but I am. Thank you for being the example I needed. Jelly. I read it twice. Then I cried. Not from pain. Not from sadness. But because for once, someone in that family saw me. Really saw me. Not as a wallet. Not as the guy who fixes everything. Just as a person. People ask if I regret it. No. What I regret is waiting so long. I regret the nights I couldn't sleep because I didn't know how I'd cover their bills and still make rent. I regret all the vacations I canceled, the plans I gave up, while they went out to eat, posted pictures, and pretended everything was fine. I regret making myself small so they could feel big. I regret staying quiet when I should have said, that's enough. But walking away? Standing up? Letting it burn? Not for 1 second. My therapist once asked me, why did it take you so long to say no? I said, because I thought saying no meant I didn't love them. She looked at me and said, saying no is how you teach people to love you back. I've never forgotten that. A few days ago, I bumped into someone I knew back in high school. She said, hey, I saw what happened with your family. That's wild. I braced myself for judgment. But instead, she smiled and said, good for you. Most people never get out. I thanked her. And for the first time in a while, I walked away with my head up. Lindsay and Eric are still being investigated. Last I heard, Eric lost his job. Lindsay's accounts got frozen. Mom's trying to refinance the house. Dad's blaming everyone but himself. They still don't understand. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped pretending everything was okay. Sometimes I get flashbacks. That night at the table. Lindsay laughing when I realized what they'd done. Eric smiling like it was no big deal. Mom waving it off. You don't need that money. But now they know the truth. That money? It wasn't just cash. It was my time, my energy, my health, my boundaries. And they crossed them all like it didn't matter. Now they're paying the price. I don't celebrate their downfall, but I do celebrate myself. For surviving. For finally walking away. For staying gone, even when it got quiet. Even when guilt tried to creep back in. Because that silence? That's freedom. So if you're reading this, and you've been the strong one, the fixer, the responsible one. If everyone leans on you and no one says thank you. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to leave. And when you do, you don't lose a family. You find yourself.